I'm Judge Carlos Moore. I'm a retired municipal judge out of Mississippi. I served for 6.5 years on the bench in not only Clarksdale, Mississippi, but I served for 4 years on the bench in Grenada, Mississippi. So come on in, invite your friends, invite your family, invite your relatives. If you want to hear a real person's experience, with experience as a judge in Mississippi, opinion about whether or not there shouldn't be an immediate arrest or arrest of those suspected of foul play in relation to the death of Nolan Wells off the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. Come on in and hear it from the horse's mouth. Someone who had the authority to sign not only search warrants, but arrest warrants. Someone who presided over initial appearances, arraignments, and preliminary hearings for those accused of murder and other heinous crimes in Mississippi. I can talk now that I am a retired judge. Had I still been sitting as an active judge, I could not give you my opinion about an ongoing matter.
So everybody's speaking about this Nolan Wells situation, everybody. So we saw TMZ's interviewing, you have W lawyers voicing their opinions, but now you have black lawyers that's coming out. And one black lawyer was a former judge in Mississippi. And he came out to voice his opinion on what he believes is going on in this case and why there hasn't been an arrest yet, right? Nobody's been arrested. And he's wondering, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why has nobody been arrested, right? He's calling, he's calling his stuff out. But people, the young brother, he went to TMZ. One of the friends, one of the guys that was supposed to be Nolan Wells' friend, he went to TMZ to do an interview, and he was saying that it wasn't about race, but not as hard as everybody was saying he was, right? I just, like, this whole thing is just confusing to me. They keep putting this thing, it's not about race, it's not about race, right? Whenever it's something that they've done to us. But whenever we do something, it's about criminality, race, our culture, everything, right? We're just the worst people. But check it out.
Javon, have you seen the video that's been going around social media where people think that they're hearing an argument between people and they're wondering whether or not Nolan is one of the people in that argument? You just described that you had another friend, not Nolan, another friend who was in and got into a dispute. Is that video the other argument that you were talking about?
Yes.
So, but is that Nolan in the video?
I can't tell. It's too far away. But in that video, I feel like the voices are too clear. Like from the side, it's too clear for it to be that far away, for it to be Nolan arguing. And then also that altercation, it sounds just like my other friend that got into the altercation on the boat. And they were trying to, like, as he was in that altercation, I was calming him down. They were trying to get him out off the island. They were trying to get him back to land because he was just losing it.
So, describe that. That's kind of interesting. What was that about?
He was just very hostile. Like he was just like really like mad. Like they were just trying to, like, the parents on that boat were trying to get him out.
I'm curious if the police have, I know they said they're still investigating. Did any investigators ever speak to you about what you saw that day?
No, sir.
Really?
Okay.
Cops have not talked to you yet.
No, sir.
That's odd.
I don't see why the cops would have to talk to me. I mean, obviously, like, like I had said my plea, like, because whenever I had talked to the people at Sunheard, it was whenever, the body was discovered and the autopsy people and all those people were there.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm surprised. Because you knew Nolan well, and you knew that he was friends with these guys who were the last ones to be around him before his body was found. And I would think they would at least want to know, hey, just the things we're asking.
Right.
Did you ever hear of any of this stuff? It's odd to me.
Just to gather information.
Yeah, that the cops wouldn't have contacted you. Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I'm completely fine with that. Like I said, I have nothing to hide. Like, that's my boy, and I want him to find justice. Like that. Like this whole case thing. Like whatever. Like this whole situation. And none of this adds up to me. So like, it's really hard. Like for like people to just like keep on saying things when like none of it adds up.
Now, this attorney, that's now residing in Atlanta. At one point, he was a judge for 6 years in Mississippi, and he's been blowing the whistle and calling out the state of Mississippi for institutional, systematic, and historic racism, right, in that state, right, that goes unanswered. They're able to just basically do what they want to do, right? It's like the movie Life. They just do whatever they want to do. So he went to his social media because now he's a lawyer in Atlanta, and he can speak about this now because he's not a judge anymore. He came out, man, and he said this.
We know that based on witnesses' account, the so-called friends were seen on July the 5th, that Sunday, having breakfast together like nothing had happened. They were not out there searching for their so-called friend. We know that the so-called friends deleted their social media, deactivated their accounts, and scrubbed it clean if the allegations are correct. We know that the young men, or the young man that had the car at his house, did not willingly turn over the keys. At first, he said that he did not have the keys. He didn't know where they were. Then he, after being pressed by the father, he finally turned over the keys. This is all very suspicious activity. We know that based on an audio recording and some video, that Nolan Wells can be heard saying, "Give me my freaking keys." Excuse me, "Give me my freaking phone." And there's been two different versions. Some say he said, "Give me my freaking phone," or some say he said, "Give me my MF phone." Regardless, he was asking or demanding his phone. Someone had his phone who did not have permission to have his phone. So the first thing I see, the simplest thing I see, is who had his phone and why? And was that theft of the phone? Sometimes we look at the largest case, we try to get to murder, but the person that took his phone committed a crime right there. There are witnesses to who took that phone. If an affidavit is signed, an arrest warrant could be signed by a judge in Mississippi to go after that person that had that phone unlawfully. We know, based on his own words, Nolan Wells' words while he was alive, he did not give whoever had that phone permission to have that phone. So was that theft? I think if an affidavit is signed, if it was presented to me when I was a judge, I would have signed an arrest warrant for the person for theft of that phone, based on what I've heard. It'd have to be an affidavit format, but if it was presented to me in affidavit format from law enforcement, I would sign the arrest warrant for, at least at this point, theft of the man's phone. We know who had it. We know who didn't report it to the family. The family had to go find it, and we know that Nolan Wells said, "Give it back to him," and evidently it was not given back to him. Why was that? All of the other things I've stated, you piece it together. Is there enough right now for arrest warrants for murder? That is a good question. I do know at this point there should have been search warrants signed by a judge. Evidence should have been presented to a judge by now. We are nearly 7 days after July the 4th, when he was first reported missing. There should have been evidence submitted by Jackson County law enforcement agents, the sheriff's department specifically, presented to a judge so that search warrants could be signed by the judge, and there needs to be, or should have been, someone questioning the young men, the three so-called friends, and others, and their social media accounts need to be searched by now. or at least a search warrant should have been issued for the appropriate entities to give the law enforcement access to the social media information. That should have been done by now. I'm not telling you what I imagine. I'm telling you what the process usually is when you're trying to do a thorough investigation. And based on what's revealed from a thorough investigation, I do believe once the evidence is secured, it's going to lead, and it should lead, to the arrest of one or more individuals.
So this judge is saying they're not doing a thorough investigation, right? The phone should have been confiscated. They should have been brought down and thoroughly questioned, right? That boat that they was on, all these different things should be happening. There should be an arrest by now, but he wasn't done.
For the murder of Nolan Wells, all of the actions are very suspicious, and right now they lead one to believe that one or more persons could have been involved with the death of Nolan Wells. Right now we have a lot of unsworn testimony, but once that is put into affidavit format and there is corroborating evidence through social media, computers, or otherwise, I believe that at that point there will be enough evidence for a judge to sign an arrest warrant. I think critical evidence that's missing right now are the results of the autopsy, the state's autopsy and the independent autopsy. That's going to be critical information. And that alone, or that in connection with what's already known, may be enough to lead to an arrest or arrest. We do know at this point, low-hanging fruit, there should be an investigation about the underage drinking, who provided the alcohol. Those individuals could be immediately arrested based on if there was any sworn testimony presented to a judge. I believe a judge could immediately sign an arrest warrant for those who provided the alcohol to underage individuals. There's a lot of people and a lot of potential crimes, some misdemeanors and felonies, that people could be held accountable for. Was there any boating while intoxicated? Who was the captain of the boat? And what did he allow on his boat? If there were any illegal drugs possessed by anyone, drugs are still illegal in Mississippi, at least they were when I was on the bench. Drug possession, drug use, selling of drugs, dealing drugs, trafficking drugs. We've heard testimony, or allegations at least. I don't think anything's been put in affidavit format yet, about rampant drug use among certain individuals. So there are a lot of things that's been alleged. Once put into the correct format, affidavit-wise, it could lead to arrests for several things, including misdemeanors and maybe even felonies. So there's a lot left to do. We are not rushing to judgment, but I just thought I would come on here and tell you that there definitely should be search warrants issued by now, and there could be arrest warrants for certain crimes issued by now. But for the ultimate crime of murder, it is probably wise to wait to see what the autopsy reveals reveals, or the both autopsies reveal, and then parse that together with all the video footage, all the witness statements taken, any affidavits gathered, and then make a decision, get it all to a judge at that point for a judge to decide whether or not to sign a warrant for the arrest of one or more individuals. It will be very interesting to see what the autopsy shows. There's also the potential for kidnapping. It needs to be looked at whether or not they can get to murder. Was there kidnapping? Was this young man taken somewhere against his will at any point? Was there abuse of a corpse even after he died? So there's a lot of things that need to be looked at from various law enforcement perspectives. Law enforcement has to do their job and get the information to a judge in the right format before a judge can act. Had I still been on the bench, if I wanted to act, I could not act unilaterally. I would have to wait till law enforcement brought me the evidence in the right format before I could sign an arrest warrant, before I could sign a search warrant. And so that's how the process works.
People have a problem with Tyler Perry and Colin Kaepernick and these former judges and black people that come from the so-called elite class doing something and speaking out, because for so many years they can't, because they'll destroy and ruin their career. You can't help the other black people. If we allow you to have wealth in this country and we open up the door and allow you to have this, if you turn around and want to help your people, we're going to destroy your career. If we don't unalive you, we're going to ruin your credibility. So now this judge, this former judge, who now is a lawyer who knows the ins and outs of cases, because very rare do you see former black judges speaking in regards to this kind of stuff. So we know that things are starting to change. People getting tired, and they're coming out.
That's how the process works. And so I am happy to be a retired judge. I'm always going to shoot it to you straight with no chaser. Straight with no chaser. I will tell you the God honest truth. I can tell you this one thing. I may have been born at night, but I was not born last night. And one thing about it, you cannot fool the informed. I've been on the inside. I know the process. And we will not sit quietly and allow this to be swept under the rug. I will call your hand. I will call your hand. You are not going to play these people for a fool. You are not going to play these people for a fool. We know the process. We know what you should be doing. And by God, I plan to make sure you do it, or we're going to call you out each and every time. There is a process. What I do know is, had the roles been reversed, by now, there would likely have been already arrests made. It wouldn't have taken all 6 days, 7 days, whatever amount of days it's going to take. Had the roles been reversed, justice, the wheels of justice spin quickly. Somebody would have been arrested for something by now. But since the roles are what they are, we are expected to be patient, and they're going to cross every T and they're going to dot every I in the investigation before they make a move, because of the people that are potentially involved. And that's the way the criminal justice system works, unfortunately. If you have access to power or money, in some instances, if you're the right color or the right hue, you will get the benefit of the doubt. And regardless of all of that, based on what I've heard, not in the affidavits I've seen, if the affidavits come to support what I've heard, I do believe, especially with the autopsy, once that is in, and then if we look at the body to see if there were any bruises or anything else, it should lead to the arrest of one or more individuals for murder, for accessory to murder, for conspiracy to commit murder, aggravated assault, kidnapping, and a list of other possible things. But right now, I could say that based on that video evidence of him demanding his phone back, someone could immediately be arrested for theft, wrongful conversion of his property. And once you make that first arrest, you start putting pressure on people. It becomes very serious at that point. No one wants their loved ones sitting behind bars, even jail bars, definitely not prison bars. So it becomes very serious at that point. And there are persons of interest that should have been interviewed by now, should have been questioned, picked up, and taken to the station, even if they didn't voluntarily go. There are certain people that should be classified as suspects by now. They should not just be persons of interest. They should be actual suspects. I do not agree with the sheriff saying right now foul play is not suspected. He should have said right now it is too early to tell one way or the other if he was going to say anything and try to be fair and impartial. Because all of this suspicious stuff, the suspicion and the actions of the individuals themselves lead you to believe that something is awry. And the stories are not adding up. The stories are not adding up. So if you believed that he stayed with a young lady, why were you calling the Coast Guard at 11 p.m. at night on July the 4th? And why did the Coast Guard somehow forget that and then remember it? And it's just very strange. And why would you lawyer up before there is even a body found? If my best friend died by drowning accidentally, the last thing I'm going to be doing is hiring a lawyer. I'm going to be too busy grieving my friend's accidental death. And I would not, in my wildest imagination, ever think that anyone would suspect me of a crime. Accidents happen all of the time. All of the time. And one thing about it, if I had been there when he drowned, I would probably have been so exhausted from trying to save him that I wouldn't have time to think about hiring a lawyer, or time for my parents to think about hiring a lawyer. And if I am recalling things correctly, I do believe that one of those young people's parents went out to the island. Now, this is a bunch of young folks. I believe one of the mothers got on Facebook and said she went to the island at some point. Why was she there? What was she doing? She was not in their age group. I don't know too many parents that go to a teenage gathering or a young person's gathering. What was she doing? I'm curious to know. I'm not even on the bench anymore, but I'm very curious to know what she was out there doing and who she may have been coaching, or what she may have been an accessory to. It's very odd that she was out there, because I'm sure she was not on the guest list. When I tell you I'm tired, it's because I am. It's time for us to have the knowledge. I got my law degree in 2002. So you're looking at somebody that has nearly a quarter of a century of experience in the legal realm. I spent 6.5 years on the bench. I am not going to mislead you, because too many of us have gone along to get along for too long. I have to meet my makers face in peace. I have to look myself in the mirror. I'm not going to betray you. Enough is enough is enough. I know no one wants to see their loved one go to prison or be held accountable. But if the shoe fits, you might as well get ready to wear it. No one is above the law. And if you can't do your job because you're friends with certain people, you need to recuse yourself. Recuse yourself and let somebody that can do their job correctly do it. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have about the process or anything I just said. There is a criminal justice process. And I know how things should go. And when they don't go as they should, you have to ask yourself why. Again, I'm Judge Carlos Moore. I've been coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been living here now nearly 3 years, but Mississippi is home. The Gulf Coast is home. I know several members of the Wells family and the Wansley family, and again, they have my deepest condolences for their loss. It's tragic. Tragic folks that you trusted your loved one to spend time with. Left an island without having the decency to account for your son. That's sad. I can't imagine the level of pain. And I've heard some people say that the Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division should come in and investigate, or the FBI, MBI, who actually has jurisdiction to do this. Those are good questions. We may need more assistance besides the local law enforcement to get down to the bottom of this. If there's anyone that's truly willing to live up to the oath they took, they swore as a law enforcement officer, as a judge, if you're willing to live up to that oath and be unbiased and do a true investigation and consider the facts fairly, please step up. And if you can't do the job fairly, please step aside. This is too serious. You have too many educated people watching this case now, and we're not going to let you get away with murder, potentially with no one being held accountable. We're not going to do it. Whoever did something untoward needs to be held accountable, needs to go before a jury of their peers, and need to let that jury of their peers decide their guilt or innocence. The standards for an arrest warrant is simple, probable cause to believe a crime has been committed. The judge has to have probable cause, more likely than not, that a crime has been committed for an arrest warrant to be signed. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's probable cause, more likely than not. That's a very low burden to meet, and the evidence needs to get to a judge pretty soon. We know that won't be the end all. Just because there will be an arrest at some point, I do believe it's still going to be a long process.
Well, there you have it. You guys let me know what y'all think, man. The black people are speaking out. That's all. I'm going to leave it there.